There we go. See? Perfect. Perfect. We are live. I was thinking out loud, Facebook and Instagram and
Yeah.
WhatsApp all had their little foo bar yesterday. So I was wondering if,
Yeah.
because I created this live link prior to the platform going down, was that going to negatively
Oh,
impact the link? Because it did yesterday on some other live broadcasts that we had pre-planned. Um, it didn't broadcast
oh,
because the
wow.
links were set up before the platform went down. So
Oh, okay. So
it
it kind
didn't
of
make it
canceled
to
it out then?
Facebook. It canceled it out, and we had to redo it once the platform went back up. Of
Yeah.
course, I
Well,
didn't want to
here
do all
we
that work.
are.
We're here, right? Awesome, awesome. Listen, guys, thank you so much for those that are tuning in across the various social media platforms. Those of you that are joining us across my Facebook page, Facebook groups, as well as here in the LinkedIn community. You guys, awesome, and you rock. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in, including the audiences that are watching us via YouTube as well as on Twitter. You guys hit those like and share and subscribe buttons. Let's get this information out to as many people as possible, because Coach Joey is going to be dropping some amazing gems today on Laquita's Toolbox Live. So get out your pencil, get out your something to write with and something to write on, and take some notes. And the first thing that I want you guys to note is a very, very, very special thank you that I want to give out to our sponsors. Today's episode is being sponsored by Covenant Press. And Covenant Press is a faith based Christian apparel and accessory shop that you can log into online simply by going to www.covenant-press.com. That's www covenant-press.com. And while you're there and you're shopping, if you purchase $40 or more, when you get to the checkout, put in the checkout code favored, that's FAVORED, favored, at the checkout, and receive 50% off of your purchase of $40 or more. So I just want to thank our sponsors for that. That's an amazing deal that you can get for 50% off for shopping there on Covenant Press, simply by ordering $40 or more worth of merchandise. So I wanted to take that note and thank them for that. And listen, I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to let Joey just go ahead and dive in. And for those of you that don't quite know who he is, Joey, please tell us more about who you are and what you do.
Absolutely. It's awesome to be here with you. And man, that really is a great offer. I'm going to go check it out when we get done here. So,
Awesome. Awesome.
yeah. So you have to say the name again at the end so I remember where to go.
I, I definitely will. I definitely will. They have
Although
some,
there's always rewind on a live, right? So
right.
yeah, so my
You can't.
whole life mission, I have 28 years in corporate America up to a vice president of sales, helping organizations that are going into or leading into bankruptcy to come back out that other side profitable, and also working with people who are stuck in jobs they can't stand to really align with creating a life that they don't need a vacation from.
Yes.
So
Yes. I
that's
love
really
it.
my area of specialty. Like I said, 28 years in corporate. I've been a student of the works I do today since I've been 22, and I'm a couple decades older than that now. But about 8.5, 9 years ago, I resigned from corporate America to step out and do this full time, to do the works and to help people, and just incredible results across hundreds of people's lives with what I do. I've developed a process called SMT, which is subconscious mindset training. And that's where all the underlying patterns and paradigms and conditioning of our life, and we'll get into this in conversation stuff, but that's where it all exists. So we can change our mindset, we can change our different things, we can try to create new habits and things like that, but that conditioning will always pull us back into it. So once we go in and shift that conditioning, I'll tell you, for myself personally, about 8.5, 9 years ago, when I went through and I understood this and I started applying it before I actually came up with SMT, is I started applying it to my own life. And within 6 months, I resigned from a six-figure corporate job as a vice president of sales. I stepped out into what I'm doing now today. And since I have more than replaced my income, I get to live in my passion and do what I'm so excited about doing, Laquita.
That's awesome. And that's the thing that I think that's the thing that stuck out the most to me the first time that we met, is absolutely that you empower people to live their dream. Like, I, it's great. I may be making the money that I want to make, but am I happy doing it? or we're adults, people adult, and sometimes in that adulting, we find ourselves at some points out of necessity having to do things we absolutely do not like, might even say we hate it because bills have to be paid. You're right.
And
Life
so
is
often,
real.
yeah, and so often people live by that base conditioning that I got to
Mhm.
pay my bills. And they get into that mode. They get trapped by a paycheck and don't see how they can replace it. I have such incredible stories of clients I've had the opportunity to work with and serve over this last, almost decade. The one that's popping to me right now is I had a professor at a major university who was just burned out and didn't want to do it anymore. And within the time we worked together, and Laquita, when I say results, the name of my company is IFGT Life Coaching. And the IFGT stands for it's freaking go time. And
Mhm.
that's how I act. My clients
Yeah.
receive results in weeks, not months and years. And so, anyways, this person within a 12-week period ended up resigning as a professor at a major university, subleased their house out, sold their motorcycle, and took off and has been for over 3 years now living on the road, going from national park to national park. They monetized a blog, so now they've replaced their income doing what and she absolutely loves
Loves
doing
it.
and living life that way. And it's so great to get to be a part. Like that's one of my greatest blessings in my life, other than my son, my girlfriend, and a list, but is getting to help people open up those avenues that they otherwise would not open.
That's great. A lot of times one of the base things that I like to help my clients with, and just friends, family in general, if you pop in my inbox, it's probably going to be the first thing we talk about is knowing who you are, understanding your purpose, one. And the second thing is, what does success mean to you? When we're
Yes.
stuck in those jobs to earn the paycheck because we're stuck, like you said, at that base level of life,
Mm-hmm.
it's really not the individual taking the time to dig deep and said, hey, what makes you happy? Like, really, what
Yes.
makes you happy? And that sounds like what you were able to help that client do. Not that being a professor at a major university is prestigious. You're earning a great income.
Right.
He or she was impacting lives of their students and their colleagues, but it wasn't what was fulfilling to that individual. Now,
Exactly.
riding from RV park to RV park across our great nation. Now that sounds like relaxing. Like
Well,
next
I
time she
have to
comes
tell
from
you,
Texas, tell her I
it,
might need a ride. Like, yes.
I have to tell you, it started out living in a tent and every
Wow.
once in a while going to a hotel. Now it's become bigger than that and such and grown and stuff. But and you're absolutely right with what you're saying is we could, I made a lot of money as a vice president of sales. I could have went on and built that, but it wasn't my passion. It wasn't what
Mm,
I had that deep inner purpose to my life. It didn't fill that at all. There was like a hole there, and
mhm,
and really you're talking about that vision of what success is. Every person I work with, whether it be somebody personal transformation, whether it be somebody who's stuck in a job they can't stand, whether it be a business owner or a corporation, everyone I work with, I start by creating a dynamic vision for what
mm,
is that for them. What is that just lights them on fire, and we expand and grow on that, and then we move from there into the becoming of that vision.
mm. That's
And we
good.
do that through shifting the conditioning, the patterns, the paradigms, the thing that we've been taught through life that we habitually follow. It's really habits of belief, and we just follow those. When we get into a tight spot, we come back to going with those because they're comfortable for us. And I'm all about helping people identify and take um, uncommon actions
Yeah.
to get different results.
Yeah, yeah. Uncommon actions to get different results. That's a point right there. If you're listening or you're viewing us, you want to write that down. And the other point that's just like really sticking out to me is the becoming part, right?
Yes.
Let's there's a difference between thinking about it, writing it down, and actually becoming that that person that you want to be, or whatever that success model looks like for you. Becoming, let's if we can rest there for a minute. Like, what is it? And we understand it's a mindset shift, but how difficult is it for people to say, I'm just going to become that, like, today, right now, not 3 years from now, but right now, I'm going to take the action steps necessary to become that person that I want to be.
Absolutely. And so often, part of it is in our conditioning and things like that. So many of us were conditioned. If we want something, it becomes a goal, right?
Mm-hmm,
And then
mm-hmm,
that goal turns into a, extensive to-do list, and I've followed this my own life for, early on, but it becomes an extensive to-do list. And then we're constantly going out trying to make it happen, right? That's how
mm-hmm,
a lot of us live our lives. And we end up with exhaustion, burnout, excessive hours, and things like that. And most people don't get the results they want. When you understand that it's in that becoming of that person in that vision, it opens up a lot easier. It forces us to look at some of our conditioning and but instead of looking at our past results as failures, look at them as life's lessons, helping
mm,
us to get to where we want to get to do. And I'll tell you, one of the things that's very frustrating for me as somebody who works, with a lot of different people, is when it is the first thing that I have found. I used to say it was vision, but even before that, the first thing we have to do is have what I call a beginner mindset.
mm,
We have to, instead of going through life looking at what we already know, and I have a lot of
mm-hmm,
clients who show up that say, I know, but it's really when we get beyond that and look at what else can I learn? Where might my perceptions of my life be holding me back? Where might my conditioning and my habits and the way I look at things be holding me back? Until somebody gets to that, Laquita,
mm-hmm,
you can't experience life any differently. When we hold on to our habits like this as
mm,
being our truth, then we have to continue to live through those. And that's what gets people in situations where they can't stand going to work. They're dragging themselves to a job they can't stand, don't feel fulfillment. Even with business owners and stuff, and how to grow their business. And I'll tell you, I have a realtor who just called me up on Saturday or texted me on Saturday. And I worked with her a couple years ago. And she had, at the time I met her, she had 17 years in real estate. Her
mm-hmm,
company, her business was plummeting downward. And she was so busy just trying to keep up with all that activity. She didn't even have time to think about turning it around.
mm,
When we met, she said, Joey, I don't even think I have time for a coaching call once a week. I'm so busy. Within the time we worked together, and we worked together longer but the initial 12 weeks, she started experiencing things turning around. We
mm,
started with a vision, we got that beginner mindset, and she started seeing things turned around. At the end of that year, she ended up calling me up, and she had tears in her eyes, and I thought something was wrong. And she said, she called me Joseph, and she said, Joseph, this has been my most profitable year in 18 years of real estate.
wow,
And it's
wow,
the only year I've taken 5 weeks off for vacation. One of them, a 2-week trip to a bucket list item to Israel.
wow, yes,
She texted me Saturday. Now, that was a year ago. She texted me on Saturday. And she said, I just had to share with you. I'm so excited. Is her goal for this year, and she's in real estate, her goal for this year was $10.5 million
wow,
for the
wow,
year in sales.
for the year.
Last month, she went above $16 million. And she still has another quarter left. And she's enjoying
And
her
this is
life.
just the
And she's
beginning of Q4, man. Right.
absolutely, I started working with a business client about maybe 5 weeks ago now. The third week working together, he has a $1.5 million business. Excuse me. And he wants to grow it to 6 million. The third week we worked together, he added $100,000 in revenue to his business. And it just showed up. It just happened. He didn't. And again, I'm going to switch a little bit, but
Mm,
we hear so much about, if you want something in your life, you got to take massive actions towards it. And you got to be willing to sacrifice, and you got to put your family aside, and da, 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 da. And there's people that achieve financial wealth in doing that.
mm-hmm.
But when you look at it, Laquita, what's the trade-off for that?
That part. That's the thing. That's the thing that um that at a given point in my life, my husband and I both decided that trade-off wasn't it wasn't working for us. We did the massive actions, and our family suffered. Our family paid the price, and
Yes.
to be fair, at that point, our marriage paid the price. So, in order to achieve the financial success or the wealth building or whatever you want to call it for the family, we can't break the family up trying to achieve something for the family. It should not work that way.
Should
It, it,
not work that way,
it
but
should
so
not
often
be that way.
Like I'd work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and most of them are under the belief I got to set my family, friends, all that stuff aside
Mm-hmm.
and get this going. And then once this hits a certain level, then I can. But I'll tell you, I know the pains of that. When I was
Mm-hmm.
probably 7 years into sales, developing territories, my wife at the time and I were pregnant 3 different times in order
Mm.
to have my son, and he's an only child, and I mean, it was a lot to have him. On his first birthday, I was in Indiana trying to develop a territory on the
Mm.
day of his first birthday. And I'll tell you, even that day, I was in tears. But what it was is that conditioning that a man gets a job, supports a family, and hopefully
Yeah.
lives long enough to enjoy some retirement, that I felt like I was where I was supposed to
Supposed to
be
be. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Indiana at that time. And my
Yeah.
my life up until today, I've still bothers me that I missed such a huge event that was so big on my heart
Mm.
for money.
That's real good. That's real good. That's real good. Like right there. If nobody takes anything else from the conversation we're having today, that was the most important point that we've hit today. Your family, whatever family means to you, should not have to suffer for the sake of earning more money. That's not the thing. And it really goes back to what we were talking about really in the beginning when we've defined what success means to us. And a lot of times, at the heart of your motivation for success, it is your family, whatever that family looked like, whether your fur babies are your family, whether you have actual, human children, whomever your significant other
Combination.
exactly, combination, whatever, whomever your significant other is, even if it's for parents and, guardians or loved ones that raised you, whatever, your relationship with them should not have to take the back seat to your
Yeah.
pursuit of financial success. But when we get those priorities in alignment, um, and even what you were saying there with the realtor that's been working with you, readjusting the way that she thought and the way that she approached some things gave her the best year of her career in real estate.
Mhm. And now she's overachieving to what her goals even are. And that's what happens when we go through that process of that becoming.
Yeah.
I have another person I worked with who, when I met him, he was working 2 full-time jobs. And
Mm.
then real estate happened to be his passion as well. But he was
Okay.
trying to steal time to put into that. And one of the things I'll say is most people, when I do a vision with somebody, it's full encompassing of their life. I go through their
Mhm.
core values with them. And then from there, we develop that vision. But that vision isn't just their financial wealth or their business or a new job, or it covers their health and their well-being. It
Right.
covers it covers their relationships, their vocation, and their time and money freedom. We cover the gamut because when you work on one area, you're letting the other one slip. And
Mm.
so the whole thing, when somebody says, I want to start a business, and they right away get their laser focused on that business and everything else is off to the side,
Mm-hmm.
you're missing those things. If you
Yeah.
don't have good health and you're hooked to machines to live, to breathe, or you don't have relationships and closeness and you don't have that side of things, what's the use of
What's
having
the
money?
use?
You could have billions of dollars, but how is that serving you? Excuse me,
Yes.
versus bringing it all together. And so again, everyone I work with, I go through a full gamut with that vision where it's all life encompassing. But
Mm-hmm.
I was talking about the realtor, and so within 2 months, we ended up shifting that balance to where his real estate, and he'll say that he had sellers and buyers coming out of the blue. It seemed like everywhere he went, everything he did, all of a sudden people would show up. And that's what that subconscious mindset shifting does. It
Mm.
allows us, the laws of the universe, the secret, all of that stuff works. But what I found in my own life and now working with others is if we're not into alignment with it, if we have conditioning and underlying patterns playing out in our life, it can't work because we're
It can't work.
blocking it, we're holding it
Yeah.
at bay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
opening up that avenue, doing the shifting, opening and having a vision, and then opening up that avenue, all of a sudden things start coming out of the blue. Things start happening with ease. And it's
Yes.
really the difference between the grinders, which are the people that put in extensive effort and they put in exhaustive hours and they're at burnout and trying to get what they want to get, and spinners,
Mm.
those people who put in minimal effort
Mm-hmm.
and have huge results.
Have
Those are the
become.
people you see on the beach with a laptop typing on it and stuff. And but I know it's funny and it's a great visual of it, but that really is that difference between. And so again, going back to the whole thing with massive actions and,
Hmm.
extensive to-do lists and things like that, all it does is leads to exhaustion and burnout,
And burnout.
and the results are so minimal.
When we're willing to unlearn bad habits, or we're willing to unlearn um, erroneous belief systems, or I won't even say erroneous, when we're willing to unlearn things that are not working for us, like you've been working and you've been grinding and you've been doing everything you know to do and learning new things to do, and it's just not working, but yet we won't let go. But when you're willing to unlearn a thing and just let it go and embrace something new, I mean, because at that point, what do you have to lose? What you're doing doesn't work. So
I was, yeah, I was on the phone a couple of days ago doing it, and I'll give your audiences availability for them as well, a free gift with that. But I was having a 10-minute conversation with someone, and I always start there with people when I start talking to them and such. And I was talking to this person, and they were doing exactly what we're saying. They're putting in exhaustive efforts. They're working 7 days a week. They're doing all this stuff. When I talked about, if you shift the habits you're following, if you shift what you think is the best thing to do, things
mhm,
can open up much easier. And he said, "Oh, I don't want to hear that stuff about things like that." And I said, "Okay, then I have no way to help you then."
yeah, yeah,
And
this is
it
it.
bothers me when that happens because I want to help everyone, right? Like I
Right.
love what I get to do. I love the impact. I love getting to brag about the clients I work with and stuff. But when I have somebody that comes to me with that closed mindset, with following that pattern of what they know to be right,
Hmm.
even though it's not producing the results, it's hard
It's
to
hard. Yeah.
not help somebody shift that out. But again, what I do is for those who want it, not
Mhm.
necessarily those who need it. And I
Come
have to
on.
keep that in mind as I go through.
Yes. Yes. That's a big difference between wanting it, and then I know I need it, but because I'm rejecting it, then it can't
Yes.
prosper me. It can't grow me. When you were saying that, it reminded me of I'm a John Maxwell certified coach, and one of his books that I really like, I'm currently doing a mastermind on it, is the 15 Irrefutable Laws of Growth. And in one of the at the beginning, in the introduction, and throughout the first chapter, he tells a story that his dad told him, and I can't remember the exact number of people. So let's just say five people. Five people had come to a decision that they were going to jump off of this ledge. And his dad asked him, "Well, how many people jumped off the ledge?" And at first thought, when you hear that, you say five, and the answer is zero people jumped off the ledge. They're all still there, because there's a massive difference between making a decision and doing an action.
Oh my God, that was beautiful. That was
It was
beautiful.
it was a massive decision, because just because you know you need it does
Yes.
not mean that you have come to the decision that I'm going to do what's necessary in order for me to accomplish the goals that I want to accomplish. And the first thing that a lot of people, I know for me, that was it. I had to unlearn some stuff. I had to be willing to let go of the things that were not working. I don't care how tried and true those methods
Mhm.
were for other people, it was not working for me.
Yes, yes. And I'd like to back up to that, what you talked about
Yeah.
with that, because, excuse me, sorry, a
Mhm.
decision without an action is mere entertainment. To decide on something but not step into it is just
Yeah.
fantasy living.
Yeah.
And some people go their whole life not understanding that they
Hmm.
say, I'm making all these decisions and nothing's changing, but you're
Hmm.
not taking any actions
Any
into it.
action in it.
And
Yeah.
that is such a huge importance when we talk about decision, that there's an action.
Yes, yes, absolutely. You have to be willing to take an action, and you know, and it doesn't have to be a massive action. Well, let me if I can reframe that a little bit. The massive action that you need to take is the unlearning, and being willing to do those simple different things, the little work, the little pieces, instead of those big time consuming, I've got a laundry list this long that I'm never going to complete in the day, so I'm going to carry that guilt over into my next day and still add to that list, and it seems like that dangerous cycle never ends, and I don't get to accomplish what I want to accomplish. But
Absolutely. And the way, I define that is there's the massive actions, right? You got to take massive efforts, massive, all that and everything, exhaustive hours, all that. What I work with my clients on is breaking that mold and
Mm,
understanding how many massive results have come from massive actions.
come on.
Usually your results are like this, right? For
Hmm.
exhaustive hours and all that. We work on taking inspired actions.
Actions.
And
Yeah.
when we start taking inspired actions, which comes again from within, it's that
Hmm.
becoming. When we start taking inspired actions, that's when we start bumping up against those patterns, paradigms, and conditioning that we can then we start easily shifting it because we start understanding it better. And when people do that, I had one client who was a I'm just getting excited. I had a client who was a teacher and she was just burned out. She probably had 8 years for her full retirement or something like that and stuff. And she just didn't want to do it anymore. When I met her, she said, I just don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And so we went through her visioning, we went through mindset and then visioning and came up. And what she came up with is she ended up buying a short school bus and converting it to a hair salon and going to industrial parks. And people would walk outside, get their hair cut, and then go back into work. And she
Awesome.
absolutely loved it. Within a year and a half, she ended up getting a larger bus and putting a boutique in the front with the hair cutting station in the back. And people would come out and shop while they wait to get their haircut and just absolutely loving
Love
life.
it. Love it.
That's that difference
Yeah.
between following the conditionings that a man's supposed to get a job, support a family, and all that stuff to, whatever the conditioning is. And there's similarities, but they're really unique. And just to tie all this in, here's why the law of attraction and things like that work and don't work.
Hmm.
They don't work because what happens is things, and I don't want to rip on, but things like The Secret and things, a lot of the books that are written on law of attraction and things like that, it's based on a one size fit all,
Hmm.
right? If you apply every one of these things to your life this way, that this will all work. But that's not how it's designed and it's not how
Hmm.
it works because we're all unique individuals.
Hmm.
So it's so important that the application of the law of attraction be specific to that
The
unique individual.
individual.
So I
Yes.
have
Yes.
programs that I take multiple clients through, but the process of going through that program
Hmm.
with the one-on-one coaching and the groups and all the stuff I included, it becomes unique to
Hmm.
that individual. And that's why I can go in there and help people to quickly shift their conditioning and things like that. It doesn't matter if you have the same conditioning I have or not. Once we identify that conditioning and the program's designed to do that, then the shifting process becomes the same. And all of a sudden we start opening up and life gets more
Yeah.
joyful, it gets more fun, and wealthier, more abundance starts surrounding us and showing up in our life.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you're so right. There is no one size fits all cookie cutter thing. I mean, it doesn't work like that. I mean, we even understand that in the realm of medications. Like, um, it depends on, our DNA is different. Each person's DNA is different. The way that I think, the way that I feel, the things that are triggers for me versus, I'm an individual. And so your solution has to be something, or the solution that we buy into has to be something that aligns with the core values of who you are. And if these cookie cutter solutions aren't in alignment with those core values, that's why you're not getting the results that you want to get. But when you are able to identify things that align with your core value, that speak to who you truly are as an individual, and they also help to map out that path to what you have determined success is. This is what I want to do. I want to buy a little short bus, convert it into a hair salon, and cut people's hair because that brings me joy. Well, do it. That's what brings you joy.
Absolutely.
Whatever it is, the thing that brings you joy, do that and know that that first step of unlearning, there's value in it. There's
Yeah,
value.
and one of the tips
Yeah.
that was perfect, and one of the tips I'll give based on that is lean into what feels good.
Yeah.
If you lean into what feels good, now feeling good and feeling comfortable are
Two different
two
things.
different things, and so many people confuse those, right? They continue. One of the things I like to say is some people live for 90 years. Other people live 1 year 90 times, and they just continue to repeat those same patterns over and
Mm,
over.
That's
You
good.
know, those 1 year people, folks never move toward realization.
Yeah.
And that's what happens is we're in our comfort zone. We learn
Mhm.
conditioning and patterns, and we just continue to follow them through life. So you're going to have to, people will have to get a little bit uncomfortable to
Mhm.
bring about that change. But the
Mhm.
rewards in doing so are just so absolutely incredible for it.
It
You
is.
know, but leaning into what feels good. So, you know, I remember one time I had just resigned. I moved down to the mountains in South Carolina where I always wanted to live. And I was sitting there one day and I didn't know anybody down here, you know? So it was like,
Mhm.
okay, how am I going to get workshops or clients or things like that? And I went through and I made a 3-page. Now, this is after doing this stuff even. So, you know, we're never perfect, but this is, I created a 3-page filled with to-dos of all the stuff I was going to do and everything else. Now, thank God I had a coach in my life at that time, and we had a call within like an hour after that. And she goes, "What are you up to?" And I told her, she goes, "What is wrong with you? Hang up this phone and go do something fun." And I
Yeah.
leaned into it. I have an old vintage Jeep, so I jumped in that with the top off and everything. It was a beautiful day. Drove to the botanical garden, hung out for a few hours, got some lunch. And I'm driving home, and a person calls me and ends up signing up to work with me, you know, as a client that was not on that 3-page list.
Yeah.
I got back home within a couple hours, you know, after talking to that person, and now I'm going through my emails and things like that and such. And I got 2 emails from 2 different places that wanted me to do a workshop. And Laquita, neither
Not
one
on
of
the
those were
list.
on that 3-page
Come on now.
list.
That's beautiful. That's
That's what I
beautiful.
so lean into what feels good. So often we want to do what we need to do and what
Mhm.
we're supposed to do, and we could all and should all over ourselves, you know,
Yep.
with things like that, where it's like to just lean into what feels good and follow that.
Yeah.
And then the next thing, do the same thing. And the more we can learn to do that, that's how we get in touch with those inspired actions that just show. You ever been doing something fun that you really enjoy doing, and all of a sudden, like this incredible idea pops up and it answers a question you've been asking?
Oh, yes. Oh,
But
yes.
when we
Oh,
spend
yes.
exhaustive effort trying to get that answer, it doesn't come. And
Mm-mm.
and and the reason why is because in that trying is how we're holding it at bay.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's when you are busy doing the thing that you love, what you need to accomplish the goals, it comes to you. And it's not out of, now be clear, people, we're not saying don't get your systems in place to run your business, whatever that business is. That's not what we're saying.
Absolutely. No,
What we're
absolutely
saying
right.
is don't spend all of your energy and your effort and crazy amount of hours just focusing on that day to day to day to day that life passes you by. Get your house in order, so to speak, in that area, but enjoy life, enjoy doing what it is that you're doing. You know, if it's you're selling widgets, enjoy the widget selling conferences around America and networking and meeting new people. Let that be the thing that you find joy in, or going out on the nature walk so you can come up with some amazing new design, that inspirational moment for the widget, so you could be the keynote speaker at the next widget making conference. Not trying to get your automation in place and, you know, getting in people's inboxes and growing my stuff organically. Those are good things, but those are not the most important things to do in life, so that you can do those and then have those inspired actions, do those inspired actions, have those moments, so that you can grow your business by actually becoming very good at what you do and enjoying what you do, because it comes across. Your ideal customer, or those people you might catch in the net, will know if you're absolutely in love with doing what you're doing.
Absolutely.
They
And you
will
know,
know
yeah, I'm coming out with my first movie. I love saying that, but I'm coming out with my first movie, and through that process is I had to write the manuscript and edit it and all that stuff and everything. I had to film it and come up with what
that.
that was going to look like. I had to come up, you know, and then we did like the stuff afterwards and all the editing and the B-roll and all this stuff and everything, you know. And in that process, I had to write the manuscript, or else
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have gotten anywhere, right?
Yeah,
I had to
right.
do the filming. We had to do the editing. Like all of those steps are actions I needed to take. But the process of coming up with those actions is where it came from inspired
Mm-hmm.
actions. It
Mm-hmm.
came from inspired thoughts. It came from inspired ideas that where I spent time visioning about what I wanted that outcome to be. I spent time into looking at what I wanted the process to be, that
See
I
what the
wanted to be
process
fun
is.
and enjoyable and something I could be proud of and expand. And once I built that vision of that, then all of a sudden, idea after idea after idea. In fact, it's just coming out, and I'm starting the second one.
Awesome.
It's such an exciting process. And so you're right. We have to take actions to have a
Hmm.
successful business. There's
Hmm.
things we have to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, in order, we have to know where our revenue is coming in. We have to know what we're spending.
Mhm.
All the bookkeeping, all of the different areas,
Right.
production, if it's manufacturing, all that stuff we have to do. But we can go about it one of two ways. We can
Hmm.
go about it based on that conditioning patterns, paradigms, and we can, massive efforts, massive, things like that, exhaustive hours, and do it that way. Or we can stop, take time to align to it through that
Hmm.
vision,
Hmm.
and then move into it and allow those actions to come from within. That's how,
Yeah.
when I say about becoming the person in your vision, that's
Hmm.
exactly it right there.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. Joey, this has been just a great, great, great conversation. You've been leaving gems since we first logged on and went live. So, listen, people, I know that you have enjoyed this broadcast. And if you want to hear more from Joey, check out the comment section. I've dropped his link in there, coachwithjoey.com. You want to get, and that's your 10-minute consultation, correct?
Yes, I set up a 10-minute,
Yeah.
and it's just a quick call to see what's going on, if I can help the person, and then
Mhm.
talk a little bit about that. And then we go forward from there. But it's just a comfortable way of starting the
Starting
conversation
that
without being on a
conversation.
call for an hour right away and such. Yes.
Right, right. So, check out the comment section there, across the various social media platforms that you might be watching us on, and you'll have that link there in the comment section. And if you want to know more about Joy, and you say, "Look, I love this conversation," I'm glad that you did. I know that I did. Check out Laquita's Toolbox podcast on your favorite podcast listing platform. We're on Spotify, we're on Google Podcasts, we're on iTunes, we're on iHeartRadio, we're on, if you just Google Laquita's Toolbox, that podcast link will pop up, and feel free to listen to us and subscribe and follow from that favorite podcast listening platform. And once again, before we do sign off, I'd like to give special thanks to the sponsors of today's episode. And our sponsors are Covenant Press. They are a faith-based Christian apparel and accessory shop. You can find them at www.covenant-press.com. And when you're shopping there, if you're purchase $40 or more in merchandise, please put in the code favorite. That's FAVORED, favorite, at the checkout, and receive 50% off a $40 or more purchase with Covenant Press. Listen, Joey, thank you for joining me on today's episode of Laquita's Toolbox Live. You rock. I really love your energy. I love the great tools that you give. If you're not following Joey on LinkedIn or on the various social media platforms, please go out to his, those guys that are watching us on LinkedIn, go out to his page and check out what he's doing. Go to his website and check out what he's doing. So until next
Absolutely.
time.
And this is so enjoyable and like powerful talking to you, Laquita. The one thing I'll say is that the link that you put in there, it's HTTPS.
Mm,
It's a secure website that people are going to for that. So,
yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I just love talking with you. And same thing with your energy and just the connection, between us and stuff is so. I'm really excited about the next time.
Yes, and there is a next time, everyone. There is a next time. Those of you that follow me on Instagram, listen, you know ahead of time, be watching my Instagram feed. Joey and I will be live on Instagram. And I want to say, hold on, let me check my calendar. I'll give you the date. I want to give it wrong. I want to give it correctly. Joey and I will be live this Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on Instagram. So if you follow me on Instagram, check us out on Instagram. We'll be continuing this conversation. He'll be providing some more amazing value, and some more details about his 12-step framework, his success system that's individualized to you to help you achieve what success means for you. Until next time,
Absolutely.
this
Yeah.
is Laquita Monley. This has been Laquita's Toolbox Live. You guys be blessed and have a great day.